Initially, in the 60s, when we assembled peacefully, non-violently, fighting to be treated equally, needlessly, the powers that be in secrecy acted with us deceitfully. And the minority was killed and arrested in an attempt to be treated with decency. Centuries after the Emancipation Proclamation, we had Brown versus the Board of Education, where segregation is no longer constitutional in this nation. Half a century later, why are minorities struggling with education yet thriving when it comes to incarceration? Can somebody tell me what happened in between the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the year 2014? You see, Martin Luther King foresaw his killing, but the progression of the minority was unforeseen, shadowed by poverty and crime scenes as the civil rights movement careened in an ocean of lies in the midst of a storm of injustices. Ship is capsized, power to the people dies as they disguise a new way to violate our rights right in front of our eyes, capitalizing at the same time while more and more people of color become institutionalized. Why? Because in the ghetto there is no equal protection clause when youth are racially profiled and detained without probable cause, hauling us into jail without pause. There is no due process, just a bunch of minorities being booked and process set up to end up behind penitentiary walls, victims to ineffective counsel, so to the system we before. So as the incarceration rate rises and the gavel falls, know that there is no coincidence that since we were granted full rights as citizens, that blacks and Hispanics make up the biggest difference of people locked up in jails and prisons. The incarceration rate has increased 8-fold since the exodus of being kept in ignorance, and the inmate population reflects the vindictiveness of an evil that would rather see us enslaved than to be treated as equal. Even when unarmed, they see us as lethal. If it was up to them, being of color would be illegal, but instead they found a new way to keep my people in poverty, which is a reflection of a system without ethos, teaching us lies from K through 12, so by the time we find out the truth, we can care less to causing them evil, therefore continuing in a cycle that perpetuates a false sense of identity as we assimilate into a counterculture based on ignorance and hate, a stereotype the media portrays and exaggerates to manipulate and or intimidate the gullible, the ignorant, and those that never graduate. Therefore, what they see on the screen, they translate as reality when that is not the case. The education system percolates the same lies through what they educate, so as a minority, being inferior begins to resonate when they teach a history that passively, aggressively discriminates, and they romanticize the ways of how Europeans got a hold of a place where Africans were exploited as slaves and millions upon millions of indigenous were killed in this space, a genocide in your face, masqueraded by holidays interlaced with patriotism to save face. Manifest destiny wasn't God's plan, but of an angel thrown out of grace that knows that we are all one race, but through false dictum. The American people fall victim to the schism. Racism is a disease. Stereotypes are the symptoms. An epidemic that has caused so many our freedom. The numbers speak for themselves. Just look at the criminal system, convicting minorities without skipping the beat. At the fast rhythm, the sirens make up the melody. The music brings in the income as the caged bird sings, but only making a crumb. Accustomed to the humdrum of confinement, but it's no conundrum that from the slums is where these prisoners come from. But like the old Negro spiritual, we shall overcome.